30 seconds. Tell them about
Yeah,
yourself.
so I had a practice in
Yes.
Westford,
Okay,
Massachusetts,
well,
probably
sorry
like
about
45 minutes outside of Boston, for about 30 years. Love what I do. After 30 years, you know, I said I wanted a break. My wife and I wanted to move down here. We love this area. So I said, I'm going to take like 3-6 months just to kind of chill out. And didn't work for about 4 weeks, and I was going nuts. I got to get my hands on people, and Dr. Josh was looking for some help, so I joined his team, and I'm real happy to be here. So, and I'm really grateful for all you welcoming me, because I know it's not easy to, you know, try something different after you the healing hands of Mr. Josh. So thank you.
So Dr. Chris will be, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying, so don't worry about that. I just needed help because we got to where I just couldn't see everybody by myself without lowering the quality of care. And we don't want to lower your quality of care, we want to raise it. And so that's why I brought in Dr. Chris, so we could both spend time with you guys and not just me all funneled in going 90 miles an hour, okay? So we wanted to serve you guys better, so we brought Dr. Chris in. So he will be here the same time as I'm here. He may be on this side one day, maybe on this side, it doesn't matter. You guys can see either one of us or see both of us. We're both big men. We have big hearts to serve you guys, but you're not going to hurt our feelings if you decide you want to see me over him. I've already had patients that I haven't adjusted since he got here, so that tells me he's a better adjuster than me, right? And then I've had patients that he's adjusted that only want to see me, and so they like the way I adjust versus the way he adjusts. So there's no right or wrong with it. You guys can see either one of us, or you can see both of us. You won't hurt our feelings. We just want to make sure you're getting the best care you need, and you're satisfied with what you're paying us to do. Okay? So thank you very much, Dr. Chris. All right. So forever young. Who wants to grow young versus grow old? Everybody? I hope so. So we're going to go through this in the next 40-45 minutes, and I promise I'll get you guys out of here in time for the Clemson game. It doesn't start till 8. If you look around, half the room is missing already because of the Clemson game. When we scheduled this thing, we didn't realize the Clemson's first game was tonight. And in Greenville, everybody listens and watches Clemson. So that's why we're here, though. All right? To get to feel good. So our mission in Max Living is simply this, to change the way people view and manage their health. Right now we have an outside-in system, correct? And we want you guys to live by an inside-out model, right? And so what we do in Max Living is do just that. And so when we get into this, if you read this from the National Academies Press, it says, despite the most healthcare spending, Americans are in the worst health, die earlier, and suffer from more diseases than any other wealthy nations, right? Guys, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we are only 5% of the world's population, but we take 75 to 80% of the world's pharmaceutical drugs. And we're the sickest country on the planet. Yes, we're the wealthiest, but we're supposedly have the best healthcare system, but we're still the sickest country on the planet. So clearly what we're doing is not working. When it comes to infant mortality, guys, which is unfortunately babies dying in hospitals, guess who's number 1 in the world? United States. Ladies, you have a better chance of your baby surviving if you have your baby outside of our country than you do inside of our country. That is how bad our system is. You just don't hear about this stuff. We're number 1 when it comes to cancer. We're number 1 when it comes to heart disease. We're number 1 when it comes to dementia. We're number 1 when it comes to disability. We're number 1 when it comes to prescription drug abuse. Dr. Chris and I are doing a show this weekend on opioid drugs and the addictive capabilities of prescription opioids, pain pills. And in prepping for our show, we discovered that 30% of Americans that take opioid prescriptions, like Oxycontin and stuff like that, 30% of them actually become addicted to those opioid drugs. And 50% of the people that took those actually move on to heroin. So 30% of the population gets addicted to their opioid prescriptions, and 50% of those people actually move on to heroin one day when their doctor cuts them off of their opioid drugs. And it all started out because of a back pain or a neck pain. So there's not a person in this room that doesn't know somebody that's either died of a drug overdose or has been addicted to painkillers, prescription medications. It affects all of us. I have 7 brothers and sisters. My wife has 10. Half of our families are drug addicts, guys. And every one of them started off on a prescription medication that got out of control. And so clearly what we're doing is not working. I know tonight's about staying forever young, not drug abuse, but I just that's on my heart recently, so I want to share that with you guys there. So, how are we going to get you guys better? Well, we call this the 5 essentials. You guys should know how many essentials there is. How many is there? 5. Everybody hold the number 5. How many essentials? 5. Not 4, not 3, not 2, not 1. People think they can just do the nutrition and get healthy. They think they can just get adjusted and get healthy. They think they can just get the right mind or exercise or get rid of the toxins or figure out whatever the latest craze when it comes to colon cleanses or detoxes or whatever the fad thing is going on, and they always end up in our office anyways. And so it's the key of putting all 5 of these things together in synergy, rotating around this core here, taking the pressure off your nervous system. So that's why none of these others work without this one, which we'll get into later. All right? So before we talk about ourselves, let's talk about everybody else so we can compare ourselves with them. This is Greece. Guys, in Greece, they live an average of 8 years longer than a typical American does. 8 years. Guess what's virtually non-existent in Greece? Dementia. 50%, somebody said 50% less cancer and heart disease, but dementia is almost non-existent in Greece. And they live 8 years longer than us. What's the number one fear of people getting older in our country? Dementia. Nursing homes alone, looking at a wall, walking. My mother works at a nursing home, and I go to visit her, and there's these guys, they walk out, and they take all their clothes off, and they just walk out in the hallway because they don't know where they are. And it's sad, but it's reality. 95% of us die broke alone in a nursing home, and we don't want you guys to do that, all right? And in Greece, so they live in Greece, they live 8 years longer than we do, and there's no dementia over there. So clearly, somebody can do it. Why can't we, all right? Italy. Italy's known to have the oldest male population in the world. You guys didn't know that, did you? There's more men over the age of more centurions, more men over the age of 100 in Italy than anywhere else in the world, right? And in Italy, when they're known for this. Everybody knows everybody. They're big about families and they're big about generations and things like that. And they look in Italy. They actually look, especially in this part here, Sardinia. They actually look forward to getting older. In our country, we dread it, right? It's like, oh, I'm getting old, I'm falling apart. It's authors moving in, all these other different things. And yet in Italy, they look forward to getting older, and they respect their elders, and they look at it as a positive thing, and they're full of wisdom, and they look forward to that in their life, versus in the United States, we do not look forward to getting older. And then in Okinawa, Japan, anybody know what they're known for? The oldest women, right? The oldest women in the world live in Okinawa, Japan. There is more females over the age of 100 in Okinawa, Japan. So if you want to live to be 100, ladies, move to Okinawa, Japan, and do what they do. They don't eat the food we eat. They eat fish and sweet potatoes. Okay, that's their 2 staples over there: is fish and sweet potatoes. And they get their good carbs from the sweet potatoes. They get their good fats from the fish they eat. And so clearly, other countries have figured this out, but in the U.S., we get above ourselves because we have so much money and power and accessibility to stuff. We sort of take advantage of it, and we don't invest in our health and take care of ourselves until it's what? Too late, right? Unfortunately, right?
The only thing we got in our fish is PCB.
Do what?
The only thing we got in our fish, PCB.
You got it. Our fish is toxins, right? Our fish is toxic. And so we're going to talk about toxics in a minute, man. Thank you for bringing that up, all right? But you're exactly right. Our food's toxic in our country. All right? So, the first essential that I want to talk about to keep you guys feeling forever young is your mindset. All right? So, what's essential number 1? Mindset. So, look at mindset like this. When you turn, as you age, it's all up here based on how you're going to feel, believe it or not. Your mind controls more than you can possibly realize. If you think you're going to get sick and have problems and get arthritis and do all these bad things when you get older, guess what's going to happen? It's going to happen. Your truth is your reality, regardless if it's a lie or not. What you tell yourself throughout your life, that is what happens to you as you get older and you age, right? If you look at yourself when you get older as wise and wisdom, and you set goals and say, I'm not going to let this thing called age get to me, what do you think is going to happen when you get older? You're going to enjoy it a lot more. A perfect example is this. My wife and I, we're in our early 40s. And when she turned 40 in January and I turned 40 in May, but we're in our early 40s now, but back when we both turned 40 several years ago, we had the goal to be in the best shape of our lives. And we're typically healthy people anyways. And as a vain goal, I said I want to have this, we both said we wanted to have 6-packs on our 40th birthday. Not a drink, but on our abs, right? And so we worked very, very hard, and instead of When my wife turned 30, she called me crying with her brother because she was turning 30 and she was getting old, right, years ago. And so when we turned 40, we said, hey, we're going to enjoy our life as we go to our. So we've set out a plan, and we focused on being healthy on our 40th birthdays, and we had a six-pack on our 40th birthdays. Now, my kids will tell you I've lost that six-pack over the 3 years, and I have a keg now. It's more of a keg than a six-pack. But we set goals, and the point is when you get older, just don't let it. You know, we could have just fallen apart and said, at 40 years old, we're going to have the aches and pains, and we're just going to sit around and do nothing. But we decided to change our mindset is the point of that story, all right? Everybody can do that, all right? It's never too late. Happiness is a sort of action. Aristotle, I think I pronounced his name right, is quoted as saying this, all right? Just getting older and being happy means you need to get out and act and move and do different things. There was a study done, to make sure I tell you guys right, it was done by the Journal of Epidemiology. They tracked 20,000 people that laughed all the time and were considered very, very happy people. Those 20,000 people that they tracked over all these years had 50 to 65% less heart disease than people that did not laugh all the time. So it just goes to show you laughter and being happy has a big, huge impact on your health. And that was a 20,000 person study done by the Journal of Epidemiology, if you guys ever want to look that up. So it says, laughter may well be the best medicine and is best delivered with gratefulness, joy, and meaningful human connection. All right? We can't be alone. As we get older, I hear this a lot from people, and I'm not stereotyping anybody in the room. We've all been through this. Is when you get older, sometimes you think you're going to be a burden on people, right? And so you don't tell your kids or your grandkids what you're really going through, and you don't want to be in the way sometimes, and so you sort of seclude to yourself. And then when you seclude to yourself, you get what? You get lonely, and you get depressed, and you get sicker, and you don't want to be a burden to anybody else, so you don't share your thoughts with anybody, and you don't let your kids or your neighbors or your church members or us, Dr. Chris or myself or the staff know this, and then you're sort of all there alone, and you're not happy anymore. And so don't be scared to do that, okay? Get involved. A good thing when you get older to stay young is get involved. According to the Journal of Applied Gerontology, I guess that's a study of people getting older, it says individuals who volunteer have a lower mortality rate than those who do not. Mortality means death. This is a fancy word for death. So people that volunteer more live longer. It's pretty simple. States that have high volunteer rates are more likely to have greater longevity and less incidence of heart disease. Again, volunteer. That's according to the Corporation of National Community Service. And then neurology.org says high daily activity is associated with a reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease. Again, when we get older, we're worried about Alzheimer's and dementia. It's saying right there, just stay active. Don't sit on the couch and watch Fox News or CNN all night, guys. You know, all that does is raise your blood pressure. I've been there, done that, right? It's political stuff. Anybody ever happy after they watch that stuff? It just, man, it drives your wives crazy. Right? All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about, the second essential is nutrition. All right? Guys, and there's a broad spectrum when it comes to nutrition and what to do and not do as you get older, and I'll give you guys some tips. But you know, if you're a patient, you should know that Stacy does her nutrition class and her 5 Essentials class on a Saturday. So if you're looking for more in-depth nutrition stuff, attend that class. That's part of your care. But we'll briefly talk about some things to help you live forever young as we go through here. It says cultures with longevity, like those ones we talked about at the beginning, they actually eat real food. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but 75 to 80% of our food in our country is genetically modified. 75 to 80% is genetically modified. Even a lot of the crops you guys grow on your own, they come from genetically modified seeds. All right? So just because you're eating out of your garden doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a good thing, right? There's not a lot of nutritional value to that stuff. So 75 to 80% of our food, according to this study here, it actually says Americans spend $165 billion every year on fast food. $165 billion. All right? Those cultures that live to be a long time, they don't do that. Look at your food as having a relationship. It says this is not a diet, it's a lifestyle of wellness and a better relationship with food. A perfect example is this. Do not let your food control you. You need to control your food. All right? I'll be completely transparent. As an example for this, I have 2 of my 3 kids are still in the house. I have a freshman and a senior, and my daughter's off in college. But my senior, he started a business about a year or 2 ago, so he makes his own money, And at 17, 18 years old as a senior, he spends all his money on his girlfriend and food, right? And while my wife, as you know, the nutrition she is, she does not buy any junk food and bring it in our house. But guess who goes out to eat every day after school? He gets out of school at 11:30 every day. And he goes and he buys his girlfriend and my daughter and everybody else lunch, and he brings it back to the school. But then when he comes home, what do you think he brings when he comes home? Junk food, right? And because it's his money, we let him do what he wants to do with his junk food. And he walks in the house, and just being transparent, guys, I'm a sucker for the Zaxby's French fries and the Zax sauce. All right, just being honest. Okay, nobody's perfect. And so when he walks in the house once or twice a week with the Zaxby's French fries and the Zax sauce, what do you think my mouth does? It waters. And as a daddy, I go over there and I do what we call a daddy tax. So anytime a kid brings something to my house, I do the daddy tax. You guys know what a daddy tax is? You got to sample it and you say, I'm getting my daddy tax. And you sample it, right? But even though I love those Zaxby's French fries with the special seasoning and the Zax sauce that it comes with, if I ate that stuff every day, what do you think would happen to me? I would blow up, right, Mike? But so you have to recognize it. So sometimes that food controls me because my mouth waters. It's like a trigger, like Pavlov's dog or whatever it is. They ring the bell in the mouth. And so when I smell the Zaxby's fries, it makes my mouth water. And so I have to train myself to not let that food control me is the bottom line. Because we've all been there. We all have our guilty pleasure that you eat behind the scenes when nobody's looking, right? And so that's an example of food controlling me or you guys. What I want you guys is actually control your food. Set the limits. It's okay to cheat every now and then. Just don't make a big deal out of it all the time. Okay? Make sense? All right. So when it comes to nutrition and living forever young and aging gracefully, there's a couple different things. If you're a patient, you know we have the advanced plan and we have the core plan. All right? Those of you that are guests, that's just what we teach our patients in the office. The advanced plan is, as you know, eating lots and lots of fat. It's like 65 to 75% fats. And when you start off doing a lot of that, we tell you to moderate your protein and then cut a lot of your carbs out, especially grains and fruits and things like that, except for some green leafy vegetables. So that's the advanced plan. So if you're somebody and as you're getting older and you have lots of aches and pains, this is where I'll make it real for some of you. If you have the aches and pains and the arthritis and the inflammation and things like that, and we'll talk about inflammation in a moment, you need to start by doing the advanced plan or go back to the advanced plan. Some of you started the advanced plan when you started with us and you lost weight, you got off medications, you reversed diseases, and then you sort of got comfortable when you went back to eating sugar all the time or maybe too much. So the number one way to get rid of the inflammation in your hands and your joints and things like that if you have arthritis as you get older is to cut out all the things that cause inflammation like sugars and grains and breads and stuff like that. All right? So that's the advanced plan. So you guys should do that for at least 30 days if you're still feeling Uncle Arthur in your joints and things like that. So kick them out. All right? Then the next level of that is the core plan. It's still eating 60 to 70% fat. You can increase your protein intake, and then you eat lots of more vegetables, and you can eat fruit in moderation, but you're still eliminating your grains and your sugars. And if you just live a life like this, guys, around the core plan, like a lot of you do, those aches and pains won't bother you as you get older. And it's better for your skin, it's better for your joints, it's better for your organs, your muscles, your brain, all that. We always talk about all these good fats, which we'll talk about later, and you want the good fats because your brain is made out of what? Fat and cholesterol, right? And so when you cut all those fats out, when your brain cells start to die off as you get older, they can't reproduce, or they can't reproduce fast enough because they're dying faster than they're being produced, and you cut out all the fat out of your diet, so there's nothing there to help those cells grow more. So eat more fats to keep that brain young, all right? Feeling good. When it comes to nutrition, I always get lots of questions like, what should I take or not take? Everybody, as we get older, to feel better and live longer, should be taking a basic multivitamin, all right? So everybody's basic multivitamin. And I threw multivitamins in here because I see this a lot from patients that they bring in things from Costco or Sam's Club or GNC, and that you have these big things of like whatever their brand is, or Centrum Silver, or all the things you see on TV, the popular ones. Guys, all those are the worst ones on the market. If you don't believe me, bring your bottle of Centrum Silver or whatever you're taking in, and I will show you why. All right? Whenever you look at a multivitamin, They will all have that big long list of all those good things you think you need, and you do need those because we don't get it from food anymore, right? But like a Centrum Silver, they're notorious for this, and since some of the other big ones from Sam's Club and Costco, the cheap ones, the whole other side or the whole bottom half is just artificial preservatives and fillers and rock stuff. Does that make sense? And so what you're taking actually is doing no good because of all the preservatives and all the filler they actually put in there. That's why it's so cheap. Yes, Centrum is the most popular one you see on TV and you see it at Walmart and the grocery store, and it's one of the cheaper ones. It's because the way they produce it and make it, it's got so much bad filler in there that it's really no good for you. Does that make sense to you guys? And so when you're taking a multivitamin, either men's or women's, you want to make sure when it says other ingredients, there's no other ingredients in there, right? If you look at this one, it says the only thing in there is hypromolose, which is the capsule. That's it. So it has to list what the capsule's made of, vegetable capsule. That's what it is. So there's no other fillers or any of that stuff in there. So if you're taking a men's or women's multi and you're not sure about it, bring it in, or Dr. Chris or myself can look at it for you guys, so you're actually spending your money on stuff that you can actually use. It's not backing you up or you're just peeing out every time you go to the bathroom because you can't absorb it because it's all junk. Make sense? So as a minimum, multivitamin, right? Osteoporosis. As we get older, one of the biggest things I hear women worrying about is osteoporosis. So how do you prevent osteoporosis or osteopenia or the pre-osteoporosis categories? Number one, people think, well, I'm just going to go out and drink a bunch of milk, right? Because milk has what? Calcium and vitamin D in it, right? But guess what? Milk does not have in it when it comes out of a cow. Vitamin D. You know, they actually put that stuff in there, right? Because milk is one of what we call a cash crop or a staple crop in our country, or a staple food, and the government fortifies that with vitamin D, right? So you're not really getting any good vitamin D from your milk. And you drink milk thinking, well, it's got a bunch of calcium in there, it's good for my bones. But does anybody actually know what milk really is? Any guess? Sugar. It's sugar. It's just like milk is a sugar, okay? And so we're trained that fat's bad for us, so we go out and we buy the skim milk or the 2% of the skim milk, right? And we drink because we thought, we need our vitamin D, we need our calcium for our bones. And all you're drinking is pure sugar water is all it is. And if you know anything about sugar and you know anything about milk, it's very what? Acidic. And so if the problem with osteopenia or osteoporosis is you get older, your bones get acidic and they get brittle. And so drinking milk all the time to prevent osteoporosis is actually doing what? Causing osteoporosis, right? And if you're drinking lots of sodas, even the Diet Cokes, ladies, that's full of the phosphates and the phosphorus and everything. You know what that does to your bones? It makes them brittle as well, right? So drinking milk is actually the opposite thing you should do as you get older when it comes to trying to prevent osteoporosis, all right? So the next thing people say, well, I'm going to go out and take a bunch of calcium supplements because I'm getting older and I don't want osteoporosis. Or your doctor's going to give you this shot in your backside that's supposed to prevent osteoporosis. But you know the number one side effect of that shot is what? Anybody know? Anyone going to guess? Cancer. So the number one side effect of the shot that they give ladies to prevent osteoporosis is cancer. To go home and look it up. Google it. Right? And so we're taking these shots to prevent a possible osteoporosis, but it's the number one cause of the biggest side effect of those shots is cancer, right? So then you go out and you take a bunch of calcium supplements. Let me tell you about some what calcium supplements though. You have this thing in the body called a calcium and magnesium ratio. So your body has to balance calcium and magnesium for you to absorb calcium, all right? So your blood, when you eat food like green leafy vegetables, you get calcium from that and it gets in your bloodstream, and then your bones absorb it out of the blood. Your bones are actually porous. Blood does get into your bones, by the way, all right? And you absorb that calcium out of your blood and it goes into your bones. And then when you need calcium in other parts of the body or in your blood because you're not eating enough of it, the body takes the calcium out of the bones and puts it in the blood. Does that make sense? And so if you're deficient and you're having your osteoporosis and things like that, either you're very, very acidic or yes, you need to take some calcium. But if you just take calcium, your body cannot absorb calcium on its own, right? It's just like eating a rock is all it is. And so you take this calcium and you can't absorb it. So if you're worried about taking calcium and you need to take calcium, you have to take it with the magnesium, all right? So remember that calcium-magnesium ratio we talked about? You can get into biology of it and go home and look this up on your own, but when you take in calcium, if you're worried about it, you need to take something with calcium and magnesium together. And I don't have any up here. Actually, I do. CalMag is what we talk about all the time. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio, half calcium, half magnesium, so your body can absorb it and it actually can do some good for your bones versus just taking calcium all the time. That make sense to you guys? Any comments on that, Dr. Chris?
No, other than just like, you know, vitamin D and vitamin K.
Can you get enough vitamin D from the sun?
If you're in the sun for at least 15 minutes a day, yes sir.
15 minutes?
At least 15 minutes. Yep.
But the problem with that is knowing people put sunscreen on. So like even in the sunniest like places like San Diego, where chiropractors practice, they do a lot of blood work there. All the patients are low in vitamin D.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't even like.
Yeah, because what happens is we're scared of the sun in our country because of sun cancer and skin cancer, stuff like that. If you guys take a plant out of the sun, what does it do? Nice. Okay? And so we're scared of the sun because of skin cancer and things like that. And yes, some people have back pigment and it can cause some sunspots and maybe some cancer. I'm not denying that. But what about the suntan lotions that you put on your skin to cover it up that are listed full of chemicals you can't even pronounce, that it says they're known carcinogens on the label? What about that stuff you put on your skin? Maybe we're getting some of the skin cancer is coming from our suntan lotions, not the sun. Think about that. Skin cancer was not a thing until Coppertone came out in the early 60s or 70s. They started a $1 billion industry with Coppertone because they had a study that came out that said sun causes cancer, so you need to buy Coppertone all the time, and you need to oil up and grease up in Coppertone. And thus the skincare market and the suntan lotion market was born, right? So that's a whole other topic, right? So bottom line is osteoporosis, CalMag is what you need for that, all right? Any questions about that before we move on? Nope? All right, so moving. Sitting is taking years off your life. There's all kinds of research and studies. According to the Internal Medicine Journal, people that sit around actually have a higher rate of mortality than people that don't, meaning you die faster the more you sit around. When you sit around and you sit all the time, what do you think happens to your posture? It does this. And you guys all know that thing with the anterior head carriage, right? It just causes it to get worse. And especially now in tall people, I get it because we're tall, but with short people, it still causes this problem when you sit around a lot, right? So you need to move, right? The key to staying with longevity is moving. In our culture, it says movement has become the exception rather than the norm. We retire, we sit around, and we do nothing. So we need to stay active. We need to move, right? So I'm getting ready to wake you guys up because somebody told me they were tired earlier when they come in. So why are you rolling your eyes back there? Now, everybody stand up for me. Everybody stand up. We're making a really good time. So if you have bad knees, stay seated. All right? You can do this sitting with bad knees. I haven't done this in a while. So the exercise we recommend for your joints and to stay young and what we call forever young is what we call our surge reverse training. It's been a while since some of you guys did this. Some of you have never even heard of it. All right? And so we teach this in our clinic. If you want to know more about it, Liz can teach you, or Dr. Chris or myself, and we'll give you a handout on it. But this is what you guys need to be doing at least 2 or 3 times a week. Yes, the YMCA is great, and trainers and all that stuff are good, but for those of you that can't afford a gym or a gym membership, or can't get out of your house a lot to go do that, you can simply do this. What I want you guys to do for 20 seconds is do something for 20 seconds as fast as you can. An example, before we start, an example is this. If you can't, run in place for 20 seconds. If you can't run, wiggle your arms. If you got bad knees or bad feet, sit down and just wiggle. All right? I don't care what you do, just do it for 20 seconds. All right?
Could you show that to me again?
Yeah, it's this. All right? So I'm going to start a timer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. 20 seconds. Just do something. You guys are 7 seconds in. 10 seconds in. All right? Everybody feeling good? Yeah. Let's save you $40 at the Y. All right? So stop. Breathe. You guys are going to breathe for 20 seconds. You better breathe. Trust me. Breathe. All right? We're breathing for 20 seconds. All right? 10 seconds. We're going to start 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go again. Now the cool part about this is you can go at your own pace. So if you're in shape, you go fast. If you're not in shape, you go slow. And then you work your way up. Nobody knows. Right? Or you can just fake it till you make it. One more time. 3, 2, 1, stop. We're going to do it one more time, so everybody breathe for 20 seconds. I know we just did this, you guys exercised for 40 seconds and you're wore out. It's not hard. 3, all right, we're going to give you 5 more seconds, okay? Everybody good? Go. 20 more seconds. I'm going to drink water while I watch you. Yeah, oh yeah, wash your butt. Good. 3, 2, 1. You guys are good. You can stop. All right. So, that's called surge or burst training. You can take that to any level you want. That's what we call one set. If you did that at home, you would typically rest for 2 minutes, like you're sitting down and resting for 2 minutes, and then you would do that again. If you do that, 2 sets of that, if you do that 3 times a day, that is all the exercise you need as you get older to stay active and stay in shape. All right? So you have no excuse. I can't afford a gym membership. I'm immobile. I hurt. I can't get out. I got bad knees. Whatever your excuse is, that exercise bypasses every one of those excuses, so you can no longer have the excuse-itis. Okay? So that's what we call surge or burst training. Everybody okay? Any questions about that? The way that works, guys, is it burns your energy reserve off. Okay, it burns your sugar reserves off, and so the body has to replenish that energy you just burned off. And if you're doing the advanced plan, you don't have any sugar in there to burn off. You burn your reserves off. So guess what the body has to burn now? Fat. And so it burns your stores here, men and women back here. So for the next couple days, you're actually burning your fat stores off to replenish your energy reserve you just burned off because you have no sugar left. So the fastest way to lose weight is not just to run on a treadmill and burn calories. Yes, you'll burn calories, but you got to run forever to burn a lot of calories. Is if you do that, now you lose weight or burn calories for the next day or 2 without doing anything because it's trying to replenish the energy reserve. It taps into your hormones and your flight or fight and things like that. All right? So that's surge or burst training. I can tell you guys more about that later, but that's what you want to do as you get older. Now, when we exercise like that, or some of the excuses I hear is I can't exercise because I'm sore all the time and I have lots of what? Inflammation, which is a very real thing. Okay, you don't have to be you don't have to be over 40 or 50 or 60 years old to have inflammation. You're going to get it at a young age or an old age if your diet's wrong, if you're not active. And so one of the things is I have so much inflammation I can't exercise because it hurts. And I just want to tell you guys this. Yes, exercise will hurt if you have lots of inflammation, you haven't done it in a long time, but if you can just stick with it for a week or 2, you'll get through those aches and pains, and I promise you, you guys will feel a lot better a week or 2 down the road than you do, even if like you're in excruciating pain now, so you can't exercise, but if you just do it and suck it up, buttercup, as my stepdad says, then in a couple weeks you'll get through that and you'll feel amazing. And you'll have lots of oxygen, lots of energy, and things like that. All right? So when it comes to inflammation as we get older, how do we prevent it? You first need to understand the 3 causes of inflammation. All right? The 3 causes are this. They're physical, chemical, and emotional. So for you note takers, those are the 3 causes of inflammation. Physical, chemical, and emotional. Physical is simple. It's sitting around your whole life not doing anything. It's old injuries. It's exercising at the gym and hurting yourself. That causes inflammatory processes and responses from physical activity or lack of physical activity. Does that make sense? That's physical. Then we have emotional. Emotional inflammation comes from stress. Your family. Number 1 source of stress in our countries are what? Our families. Remember? 7 brothers and sisters. My wife has 10. You guys think you got bad families? You don't know anything until you meet my family. It's just bad. When your phone rings, you don't answer it, right? You look to see which brother or sister it is, and you don't answer it if it's a certain one because you know they're going to cause some stress, right? It's like misery. My mom always says misery loves company, right? And they want to bring you down with them. And so when you get involved in all these, especially as we get older, we do sometimes want to take care of our kids or our grandkids, and yet just because of the generational stuff that they're going through these days, they don't respect us anymore sometimes, right? And we put up with their stuff because we love them, and God put us here to pray for them and serve them, but sometimes they just don't respect us, and they're just plain out mean, and no matter what you do or give them, it just keeps making the problem worse, and it almost becomes an enabling relationship. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And so when you get stressed out, your cortisol levels go up in the body from stress hormones, and you get inflammation. So some of you just need to get rid of some family members or some spouses, right? Not a divorce, but just take some time apart, right? Do a date night or something like that, right? So that's the second one excuse me, emotional. And the third one I want to get to is chemical, all right? Chemical inflammation. This is going to come from the foods we eat, the medications we take with all the side effects, our environment, the toxicity around us. This room, guys, I grew up in Atlanta, and we were always worried about going outside back in the 70s and 80s because of the fog out there. And now, in today's day and time, according to the Environmental Protection Agency, this room in here is 100 times more toxic than the outside air. You know, years ago it was the outside air. And luckily we've cleaned up the environment, but now we have so much stuff around us, our environment's toxic. And our food is toxic. Our medications that we take to try to stay healthy or stay alive sometimes, if that's the case, all the side effects and the chemicals make us very, very sick, right? So that's the chemical part of it. So if you have that, what do you do to get rid of it? There's a couple things we recommend. It's basically according to where you are with your inflammation, all right? If you're somebody that just wants to keep Arthur at bay where it doesn't bother you all the time, and you're pretty healthy, but you want to maintain and get rid of that inflammation out of your body constantly, something like Daily Defense right here, all right? That's different than the curcumin. The Daily Defense is something you just take once a day, and it's got curcumin in it, and it's got like Indian gooseberry and some other different things that get rid of inflammation in the joints. So if you're somebody with arthritis or chronic inflammation, it's good to take Daily Defense on a daily basis to sort of keep that at bay. If you don't have that, or you want something to take as needed when the weather's bad, or when you over-exercise, or when you do too much out in the garden, ladies and gentlemen, and you have those aches and pains, but you don't want to take the aspirins or the Tylenols or the ibuprofens because it kills your liver and your kidneys, then take something like curcumin C3, which, like this right here. Now this, guys, is I think this is 4 times more powerful than the Daily Defense. Same ingredients, but 4 times more powerful, because this is something you take as needed, not every single day. Does that make sense? So you take Daily Defense on a daily basis to sort of maintain that, if that's your goal. But if you want to take something as needed when you have an ache or pain, curcumin C3 is the best thing we found for that. Yes, ma'am?
Inflammatome, where's that rank?
This is better than Inflammatome. So yes, she brought up Inflammatome. Inflammatome was a product we carried on our shelves for about 8 or 9 years, okay? Almost 10 years now. And then we come out with curcumin C3, which is stronger than Inflammatome. This is as close as you can get to a pain pill without a prescription, with no side effects. All right, and so that's why we carry curcumin C3 versus the traditional Inflammatome we've carried for the last 8 or 9 years. All right. So basically, what we did is, instead of paying somebody else to manufacture it, we just manufacture our own, put our label on it, and that's what happened. Okay. All right, and so those are the 2 things you should take for inflammation. So for chemical, emotional, and physical inflammation. All right. Any questions about inflammation before we go on to toxicity? Yes, ma'am.
Does that hurt you to take that curcumin all the time? Because that's what we were doing.
No. It's just not designed to take, every day, all the time. If you could, it's just a supplement. So if you overdo it, it's just turmeric and curcumin is all it is. So it's going to make your pee yellow, and you're going to pee it out if you take too much. So there's no side effects of it. It's not harmful. But if you want to take something every day, all the time, like on a daily basis, you can just take 1 Daily Defense for like a maintenance type thing, and then just curcumin, once a day, or when you have your aches and pains, and then go a week without it. But when you have a problem, take it. All right. So that's the difference in those.
So is that only for joints, or does it help with headaches?
No, it helps with everything. It helps with all inflammation, your lungs, all that stuff.
Headaches and all that.
All the aches and pains. It gets rid of the inflammation in your body. Okay, so that can be in your lungs, it can be in your joints, it can be in your feet, it can be in your brain. With just a lot of stuff. It's very, very good stuff. Or you can just eat Indian food every single day. That's really good, because of all the turmeric that's on Indian food. All right? All right, so we talked about some inflammation, so let's talk about the toxins that cause inflammation. Let's see here. In the past few decades, more than 100,000 new chemicals have been introduced to our bodies, homes, and environment. I told you guys a little while ago that our room is 100 times more toxic than the outside air. And so as we get older, we're absorbing all these things, and they're very, very acidic, causing inflammation in our bodies, causing us to hurt, causing us not to absorb food, causing us not to absorb our vitamins and nutrients, and they're even causing some of you not to absorb your prescription medications. That's why sometimes your prescriptions don't work, because your cells are so toxic anyways, they can't absorb anything else, right? And so it's very important that you recognize where toxicity is coming from as you get older, because we want you to age with an alkaline environment, not a acidic environment, all right? So these are the top 5 places we actually get toxicity as we age. Our food, water, personal care products, household products, and home and air quality, all right? This one, ladies, especially ladies, as we get older, we like to put all the stuff on, get our hair done all the time, and do all this stuff. And so these personal care products, ladies, and then these household cleaning products, ladies, if you're somebody that cleans all the time, that's your #1 source of toxins in your environment right through there. You're putting that stuff on your skin. You're putting the perfume on to smell good for your husband or the girls that you're going out to eat with, whatever the case is. And you're getting your hair done. They're dyeing it. They're bleaching. They're doing whatever they do in the hair salon. We smell it next door all the time. And so it's just pure toxins. And then your home air quality, we talked about that. So these are the top 5 things you're getting a lot of those toxins from. And when it comes to the food, guys, you're getting a lot of those toxins from the genetically modified foods that you're eating, all right? So you want to stay away from those, all right? So any questions about those? This is not a toxicity workshop. We're going to do one of those later. But any questions about those and where that comes from before we get to the next thing? Oh, pretty good. All right. So when you're toxic, the best way to get rid of the toxins is to do what? Detox, right? And so I always get questions about detox. I've heard Dr. Chris get 3 questions last week from the same 3 people that asked me the same questions the week before, looking for a different answer. And that is, well, what do you think about this cleanse? What do you think about this? What's that coffee thing I hear all the time, the coffee enemas? Or what about this colon cleanse? Or whatever the cleanse is that's in style right now, right? Everybody's doing it. It's all over Facebook, whatever one that is, right? And what I want you guys to understand when it comes to a cleanse, do not waste your time cleaning one part of your body out, okay, with a fad cleanse. Yes, there may be a time and place for it, and there is beneficial things to it, but if you're going to do a cleanse, do an entire body cellular cleanse. Does that make sense? What makes your liver any more important than your lungs, or your liver any more important than your kidneys, or your reproductive organs, or your stomach, or your gut, or your digestive system? And yet we pick and choose what spots we want, right? And yes, we feel better after we do that cleanse, but then in a week or 2, what happens? We still have the same problems. And so when you're detoxing, you want to make sure you're doing it on a cellular level, where you're detoxing all 72 trillion of those cells. This is a cell. It's full of water. This is a thing of water right now. It's full of clear water. If this is a cell and it's full of junk, no matter what I do to put stuff into this cell, it's still got bad stuff in the water. Does that make sense? And so what you have to do is get that stuff out of those cells, right? And when you get that stuff out of those cells, when you do a cleanse, or a cellular cleanse, or any type of cleanse, it dumps it out of that part of your body into the bloodstream. And what does the blood do in your body? Circulates. And what does it eventually end up doing? Going right back in, right? And so when you do a cell cleanse, you want to make sure you do a 2-part cell cleanse is the bottom line. Clean the cells, dump the buckets, right? But then do a 2-part system like you see, like, you know, all you guys have had this when you started. And there's a 2-part in there. So the other part, one part you take during the day, the other part you take at night before you go to bed, which is going to absorb all that toxicity in your bloodstream when you sleep. So when you wake up in the morning, the first thing we have to do is we go to the bathroom, we do what? We go pee in the bathroom and get our bladder. And that's where the toxins are released, not through the backside like most things make you sit on the toilet all the time, right? Ours works by going out the front, not the back. It's a lot easier on you, okay? Just drink plenty of water, right? And so if you want to detox as you get older to feel good, and some of you have so much inflammation as we get older from our aches and pains, if you just did a detox, you would get rid of a lot of that inflammation and get rid of a lot of those aches and pains by simply doing something that's going to cost you $50 for a whole month supply, right? So you can get rid of those aches and pains for a simple monthly detox. Does that make sense? It's very important to do that. Yes,
How often
ma'am.
do you do it?
First, I'm sorry?
How often do you do it?
Everybody's different. My wife does it daily, every day. She's done it for 6 years, non-stop. She had some tumors come up in her breasts, and one of the things about detox is it helps shrink tumors as well, if they're toxicity tumors, and it shrink the tumors on her breasts, and so she is actually taking that every day for 6 years. Okay, my wife has.
What's your thought on distilled water? I've heard it.
On what?
Drinking distilled water, you know, for a long time they said not to, but.
Yeah, I mean, water's water is good for you. Just don't spend a fortune on it. Okay. If you want to go spend a fortune on alkaline water or distilled water, all those other different things, just simply take a thing of water and squeeze a half a lemon in there, a quarter lemon, and you have a alkaline water that didn't cost you $10. Okay. Yeah, a lemon is acidic, but when the body puts it in and hits the saliva and the digestive enzymes hit a lemon, it actually turns alkaline. So instead of spending money on expensive waters or alkaline waters, you can simply put a quarter of a lemon in a cup of water every morning, and it does the same.